Playing Leighton Hewitt from Australia, it's a battle of the young guns. The number one Swedish player up against Australia's number one player. The women's singles final, Martina Hingis takes on Lindsay Davenport. Two different styles of players. It's actually a repeat of last year's Australian Open final. And then last but not least, the men's doubles. Jonas Bjorkman from Sweden and Todd Woodbridge from Australia teaming up against Daniel Nestor from Canada and Sandon Stolly from Australia. And Leighton Hewitt was warming up for his match against Magnus Norman just a little bit earlier, because both players featured in the New Balls campaign, which is promoting young players. Magnus Norman, just 24 years of age, and Leighton Hewitt, it's hard to believe sometimes that he's still just 19 years old. It was quite pleasant conditions here today. It's certainly much nicer than the sweltering temperatures the players were under yesterday. It's currently 23 degrees. We have a top of 25 expected, and the Bureau has informed us that there's a chance of late showers and possible thunderstorms, but that's hopefully going to be much later today. Well, we're going to have that centre court match, the men's singles final featuring Leighton Hewitt and Magnus Norman after this short break at the 2001 Adidas International. Well, welcome back. It's a sellout crowd continues to fill the stadium here at Centre Court. It's time now to go to our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Craig Willis.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a great day for tennis here at the Sydney International Tennis Centre. For the men's singles final, would you please welcome from Australia, the number 2 seed, Leighton Hewitt. And his opponent, the top seed at the Adidas International for 2001, Magnus Norman. And now would you also please welcome Australia's own Julie Anthony to sing an Australian trilogy to celebrate the centenary of Federation.
I love a sunburned country, a land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons, I love her jeweled seas, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land. For Matilda, Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, would you please be upstanding? You guessed it. And please, would you join with me in the singing of our national anthem?
From our own Julie Anthony.
Yes, Julie Anthony there, the woman who sang at the opening ceremony the anthem of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games with yet another brilliant version of our national anthem. Well, it's getting exciting here. The men's singles final not far away between Lleyton Hewitt and Magnus Norman. Now, Lleyton, of course, this is his second consecutive final here. He's hoping to become only the third player ever to win the Sydney International twice. The only other players that have done that is Andre Agassi and Todd Martin. Of course, he has the home crown advantage. Magnus Norman, on the other hand, Sweden's #1 player, he actually leads their head-to-heads 2-1, and on a hard court surface like this rebound ace, they're at 1 apiece. It's the first time in 10 years at Sydney at the Adidas International that the #1 and #2 seed players have actually met. And Magnus, well, he only has good things to say about our Lleyton, and actually doesn't seem too upset that he's meeting him in today's play.
Well, I think both Lleyton and me is pretty similar playing types, actually. We're both playing pretty much from the baseline, and I think Lleyton is one of the best match players in the world. You know, he's got such a great attitude, and I know perhaps some players, you know, they don't like the way he acts on the court, but I actually love it. You know, I love to play Lleyton, and I love to watch him as well, because he's a great guy, and you know, he's a winner, and I think he's going to win a Grand Slam sooner or later.
Well, it certainly is going to be very exciting. And just an interesting note, we did have the draw of the Australian Open yesterday, where Lleyton will actually play Jonas Bjorkman in the first round. But for today, it's the Adidas International Men's Singles Final, and we go to our commentators, John Barrett and Gary Wilkinson.
Thank you very much, Joanna Giggs. Lleyton Hewitt on screen, and what a big moment it's going to be for him. He started last year like a rocket, and couldn't quite emulate that performance at the Adelaide tournament, the hardcourt championship last week. Magnus Norman, it's amazing, isn't it, the consistency of these two players, John Barrett. They were in the top 10 in the ATP Champions race right throughout last year. Every week of the year they were in the top 10, and here they are. We're in the second week of this year, and they're already into a final against one another.
Yes, that is quite remarkable, and of course getting off to a good start when you're in a race is very important. And of course the new ATP race, which began last year, has caused all sorts of new interest in the game, because people can follow the actual performances week by week to know who is the man in form at the moment. So it's worked very well. And behind the scenes, still the 12-month ranking goes on to determine who will get into the draws and who will be seeded. So the two run side by side, but we concentrate on the race as the season unfolds.
A little bit of court preparation work going on. The stand temporarily that was erected for Julie Anthony's been removed, but has left a little bit of debris on the court, which is now being removed. The net is up. Final adjustments are being made. Both players, I would imagine, just a little bit nervous having to sit there through all of that for the past 10 minutes or so. I was a bit surprised that they brought them out on court as early as they did. I thought they might have brought them out after this first bracket from Julie Anthony, just in time for the national anthem. Nervous moments, John Fitzgerald, at courtside.
Yeah, it's always a build-up, isn't it? When both players have reached the final, they know they're hitting the ball well, Gary. Their form is good. It's just a big moment, that's all. They come out into a final. You don't play one of these every day. And this is a significant event for them. Big lead up. It's a great event in its own right, and a big lead up for next week at the Australian Open. And it's one they want to win. It's a psychological edge that one of them can gain over the other one. There's a chance that if they get through their early rounds next week, they can play each other, these two. And I'm sure there's a lot of mutual respect. And look, big moment for both of them, but they want to get the edge over the other one.
John, it's not a scorcher today as we had yesterday, but it's still pretty warm and humid down there.
It's quite humid, Gary. Nowhere near the heat. The sun is not shining through at the moment. If that comes out, I think the temperature will rise. But there's a bigger breeze. Nothing that will upset the standard of play. But there's certainly more breeze wafting across the court. The conditions are a lot better than they were yesterday when Norman played Bjorkman. Much better.
Well, looking for a top temperature of just 25 degrees today, but with the threat of rain or possible storms mid to late afternoon. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that front.
Magnus Norman has won the toss. We'll see shortly what he has elected to do. It wouldn't surprise me if he elects to receive.
Lleyton Hewitt, ranked 7th in the world at just 19 years of age. The winner of 6 career titles, and as we said, he was in the top 10 of the ATP Champions race last year, winning 4 titles, no less, along the way in the past 12 months in Adelaide, Sydney, Scottsdale and at Queens, as well as reaching the final of the Masters Series tournament in Stuttgart and the semi-finals in Miami, in Rome and at the United States Open. The first teenager to win 4 titles in one season for quite a few years.
Well, here's his opponent, the Swedish #1 of the moment, Magnus Norman, who's a terrific competitor, one of the hardest workers in the game. Just 24 years of age, ranked 4 at the moment in the world, but he headed the race, you know, for 7 of the weeks during last year. He has 12 career titles, and last year won in Auckland, in Rome. That was one of the Masters Series, in Båstad and Long Island, a finalist at the French Championship, so nearly beating Gustavo Kuerten, but just failing in 4, and playing better and better round by round this week. So he is a terrific competitor and will give Lleyton all sorts of trouble.
Head to head, it's 2-1 in favour of Magnus Norman. Both those victories for Norman came last year. He defeated Lleyton Hewitt in the round of 16 at the Australian Open and in the semi-finals in Rome. It's going to be a big contest, this one. Norm Christ from the United States is the umpire. In their tournament victories last year, each player won 3 titles on hard courts. Norman won in Auckland, at Long Island and Shanghai, and Hewitt, Adelaide, Sydney and Scottsdale. Norman, actually, it's the 2nd year running he's won both Long Island and Shanghai. He's got tremendous consistency, as has Hewitt. It's their great forte.
Be there to see all that. It was an extraordinary performance. And then in the final beat Stoltenberg to launch what has become already, at such a tender age, a brilliant career.
Poor old Stoltz has been on the receiving end. He was beaten by Hewitt in the final here last year. Mind you, a lot of people have been on the receiving end from Lleyton Hewitt in the last couple of seasons.
So a quick prediction from Fitzy down there. Who's going to win?
Oh, look, I have a biased opinion here, John. That's an unfair question.
Well, I would hope so.
I think it's going to be a fantastic final, an ideal final for this event, and one I'm looking forward to with bated breath.
Here we go, the 2001 Adidas final. Both men had tough 3-set matches to come through the semi-finals yesterday. Norman particularly in the heat, but sharp early here. Hewitt likewise. Norman defeated his compatriot Jonas Bjorkman 5-7, 6-3, 7-5. Hewitt defeating Frenchman Sébastien Grosjean 6-3, 4-6, 6-4.
Leighton is consciously trying to improve this serve, and he's worked very hard at that with his coach, Darren Cale. And he feels he needs to get some more cheap points as a result of first serves. Like that. And I think he's right, because he does expend a huge amount of energy in any way of shortening some of the points by aggressive and accurate fast serving. Well, that would be a real bonus. So, as with all tennis matches, this is a battle of the mind as much as the body and the technical expertise of each man.
Deuce.
He has this habit of adjusting the strings between every point. I think he must have very sore fingers.
If he ever gives up tennis, he'll make a hell of a chicken plumper.
Advantage Hewitt.
Here he goes again. Absolute perfectionist, this fellow, very tidy in his personal habits. All his clothes are nice and neatly folded.
At last, Hewitt hangs on in the opening game. 1-love at the championship final.
First game.
So, Fitzy, was there any sign down there facially of what was going on?
Oh, I think just a little bit of tension in the first game, JB, from both players. I think they're very wary of each other. One's currently ranked number 4 in the world, the other's number 7. These are class players, these two boys. And amazing that Leighton is still only 19. You know, he handles this sort of pressure incredibly. But what he's been through in Davis Cup over the last couple of years will steel you for anything. And look, there was a little bit of anxiousness, I think, on both the players' face, but it's just getting underway, I think, getting those original nerves off your chest, and I think we can settle in for some good stuff.
Well, to me, the important issues here are the service power of Norman and the number of first serves he gets in, because he's playing today one of the best returners in the business, probably alongside Agassi. Hewitt is that. And if he doesn't serve well, Norman, well, he'll be on the receiving end of a lot of good returns. Now, yesterday, his service percentage was really very, very good early on.
Game, Norman. One game on.
John, I think rarely you see Norman as pumped up as that. He hit 3 serves and the last one was 190 wide. And the 2 on the first court he hit down the middle were well into the 190s, just under 200 Ks. He doesn't normally serve quite that hard. I think that shows that he's really pumped.
Oh, what a testing rally.
So the confidence level of Hewitt rising. That is a difficult thing to do, to change the direction of the ball from cross-court to down the line at that pace.
Great. Really tremendous forcing forehand approach shot from Hewitt. Ooh, heavy hitting from Norman.
Deuce.
Well, one of the quickest movers on the World Tour at the moment, Leighton Hewitt, but not quite quick enough to be able to get there with enough time to control it.
A little bit of net-court luck for Leighton Hewitt.
Advantage Hewitt.
Because there are no obvious weaknesses in either man's game for the other to attack and exploit. And so you're going to see a match of great depth of concentration, each man trying to wait for the short ball on which to mount an attack.
Breeze picking up quite strongly at the moment down on the centre court. There's the winner from Hewitt, holding serve. 2 games to 1 in the first set.
Hewitt is 2.
It's Darren Cale on the right. John McCurdy, it looks like, on the left.
Is that Kim?
That's Victoria Cahill.
Oh,
It's Victoria. It's it is.
didn't recognise her under the hat.
And the dark glasses in disguise.
Well, I've been saying for quite a while, she's far too good for Killer.
Well,
Seats quickly,
you were out in
please.
public with Darren McCurdy. You want to be in that
Player.
disguise.
First baby imminent around March, April, around there.
50. Luck.
It's been great for Leighton Hewitt to have a sensible chap like Darren Cale in his corner.
Oh, he's done wonders, I think, for Leighton over the last couple of years. He's the perfect coach, I believe, for Leighton.
Both good Adelaide boys. Or South Australians, anyway.
15. All.
Started life, Fitzy, with Peter Smith, didn't he?
He did, as a lot of young South Australians have over the years. Yeah, I know Peter Smith's talents well, John.
50.
He coached me when I was a youngster, and he's had a lot to do with a lot of the young South Australians that have come up over the years. He's got great coaching skills, and I know I have to speak very highly of him because I know he's listening, and he's staying at my house in Melbourne, so I've got to be very careful.
His son, of course, did very well, won the National Intercollegiates in America. Luke Smith, and earned a wild card as the intercollegiate champion into the US Championships of that year.
30 all. Light. First. 40, 30.
And that's a good sign for him.
Second ace at 190.
The serve is going as well as it is, 67% so far. First serve's going in. That's healthy.
And another one at 190. 2 games all.
2 games all.
A couple of relatively straightforward service games for Norman. A couple of tough ones for Leighton Hewitt. Taken to deuce both occasions on serve so far. Sun trying valiantly to break through the cloud cover at the moment.
Yes, there's the mid-court ball, you see. That's what they're all looking for.
Low, 50.
And that's what each has to avoid, offering the other the chance to do that. Bouncing just about on the tee of the service square. Well, they're going to hit their winners quite readily from there, all right.
Wicket off both sides, Norman, early in this match.
Low, 30.
Well, even from the deep ball, he generates a huge amount of power here. So a big hitting match. It's a bit like a middleweight boxer boxing against a lightweight, because at 200 pounds, that's what, 90 kilograms, he punches his weight. This fellow just 67 kilograms, 150 pounds.
There's that short ball. Hewitt this time pouncing on it, getting himself out of a spot of bother. 2 all now, 30 all.
30 all.
Slight mishit on the return because it was a good serve at the body there. That's one of the most difficult places from which to make an attacking reply.
Hewitt's first ace.
40, 30.
I think this area of his game is where he's improved so much. If you look back a couple of years, he wasn't able to generate that sort of power.
Hewitt holds serve and leads by 3 games to 2 in the first set.
Hewitt leads 3 games to 2.
Oh, some testing early games for both players, particularly testing though for Leighton Hewitt. Had to really come up with something on serve in the latter part of that previous service game from love 30. And he did, and that additional power, John, that he generates on serve now that he didn't have a couple of years ago. I guess we keep forgetting that he was only 16 a couple of years ago.
That's right. That's right.
Magnus Norman is he's deceptively big. He's a big man. He's 3-4 inches taller than Hewitt. And he's got a fair bit of bulk, a fair bit of muscle about him. He's terrifically, physically fit. Oh, Hewitt had him nailed to the wall there.
Norman has a lot of lower body strength, doesn't he? Huge legs and gluteals. He gets a lot of strength. He's quick for a big man. And I think historically, most tennis players are more inclined to be like that. With very strong lower body, obviously to get them around the court quickly. There were signs of frustration, though, Gary, when Magnus walked back to the baseline. He felt like that previous game was a missed opportunity at love 30, and that's what Hewitt can do to you. He can wear you down mentally.
The high ball had Magnus Norman completely fooled. He didn't know whether it was going to drop in or not. This one.
15-13.
Then he had to play an awkward shot at it, and Hewitt comes up with a perfect net cord.
Well, if he wasn't frustrated before, he certainly is now.
It's 15-30.
Well played.
First break point of the match goes to Leighton Hewitt. Gee, guessed right, it was in the right place.
Deuce.
But couldn't clear the high part of the net.
Advantage Hewitt.
A loose shot there from Norman. Hitting down break point again. Oh, just out. Faded. Came perfectly off the racket, but through the air, just faded away from Hewitt. Fell fractionally wide of the line.
Yes, just the extra pace did it.
Advantage Norman. On the line. Deuce.
Deuce. 2-3. Norman serving. Mishit.
Advantage Norman.
Well, that was a pity because he created the opening. He got the half-court ball that he sought.
Well, Norman survives the first major crisis of the match, saving 2 break points.
3 games all.
Crowd beginning to get a little worked up on those couple of crucial points as the match goes on. Tension will rise. And it'll start to get to everybody in this terrific arena, Sydney International Tennis Centre. 3 games all, Hewitt.
50.
Another ace. He's 3rd for the match. His 2nd for the match. Oh, did we ever hit that? Yes.
50.
Because the wind is a factor, we mustn't forget that. It's easy just watching on a screen to discount the wind because you can't feel it, but believe me, the gusts are considerable.
30. 50.
It's been like that for much of the week, certainly the early days. It's something that Norman was talking about, having to get used to outdoor conditions after an indoor season.
On.
A few more unforced errors from Hewitt these last couple of games. The toll mounting. Norman was well ahead in that department, but pretty much an even score now.
Ooh, he was lucky to get away with that.
Just another example of Norman's great speed. Scampering across the baseline, just wide.
Made a lot of those yesterday against Bjorkman.
Boy, he was coming towards my direction with speed. He'd make a good centre-half back, Magnus Norman. He's a strong athlete.
You wouldn't want him to shoulder you off the ball, is that what you're saying?
Deuce.
Well, this is where the battle of the wills is going on, right in the heart of this set. Hewitt struggling earlier on. Had chances on Norman's serve last time, and now he's being made to fight really hard for his own serve.
Advantage Hewitt. Deuce.
Well, neither man can string 2 points together. And that's always a sign that the tension is apparent.
Well, Norman was always in control of the point, wasn't he? Hewitt was doing the scrambling.
Advantage Norman.
Interesting at courtside how heavy Norman appears off the ground. His ground strokes, you know, they're not necessarily fast. It's a different thing, but boy, they've got a lot of weight behind them, and they come off the court sharply. Once he topspins the ball, particularly off that forehand side, it hits the court and just takes off. It's a very heavy ball.
Great point for Norman. Well saved. That's his third ace.
Deuce.
And this is the sort of situation where all those 10 Davis Cup ties stand you in good stead. You've faced difficult moments. You know how to deal with them.
Hewitt vocalises for the first time.
And I think that's part of the game, Gary, that's really improved. When he gets the ball to knock off, he can do it now consistently, Leighton. Maybe a couple of years ago when he was a real youngster, he's still a youngster, but a few years ago maybe he wasn't as inclined to do that, but now that's helped take him to another level. When he gets the opportunity and it presents itself, he finishes the point.
Out. Yes, good call from the chair.
No, Norman thought it was in.
Well, Hewitt held serve. He leads 4-3.
Hewitt leads 4-3. Ball change.
Ian Thorpe in the centre, behind the dark glasses. He's been here, well, most days of the tournament. Enjoying the atmosphere and enjoying some great play, both in the men's and women's tournaments. And enjoying this final between two of the top young players in men's tennis at the moment. Two of the most eligible young men in men's tennis, although Leighton's a little preoccupied in that department at the moment.
Kim Clijsters is his girlfriend, and this fellow spent some time in the company of Martina Hingis last year.
New balls, please.
50, love.
That was a wind-affected serve. That ball hit the surface and the wind just blew it away. Another probably half a metre from Leighton Hewitt's right hip. That really caused him a problem there.
Let pursue.
The trademark shot
50 all.
of Leighton as an opponent comes in against him. He can thread the needle like this, almost with his eyes shut, it seems. Well, we had that.
Oh! Popped up and hit him on the scone.
And here it is, look.
Oh, barely.
My God, that was...
Barely. I'd say not at all, actually.
Out. 30, 50.
Yeah, it looks as if the wind took that one as well. So it swirls in a stadium of this shape, circular stadium. You'll find that the wind isn't consistently from one end or the other.
He's won 12 tournaments in his career, Magnus Norman. 10 of those in the last 2 years. 5 each year, 99 and 2000. And of course reached the final of the French Open Championships last year as well.
A real battle of wills, this.
You know, some points, JB, Magnus steps up the speed. Occasionally he'll hit 5 or 6 heavy ground strokes in a row, trying to overpower Hewitt. And Leighton, for the most part, stays with that. He's going to force, I think, Norman to actually come up with something even better on the odd occasion.
Wow, that's a gust of wind.
Yes,
There's some heavy hitting. What Hewitt is hoping, of course, is that if he keeps trying to come up with something bigger and better, he's going to make more and more errors. Not at all at the moment, though. 4 games all.
Look, as you would expect, when 2 players get through to a final, they've both won 4 matches earlier in the week. They're both very confident, and the standard of play here is very high. That's an interesting sign, though, isn't it, JB?
Yeah, it certainly is. Just wonder whether a little bit of variety wouldn't be a bad thing, but it wasn't the ideal moment or position from which to attempt a drop shot.
I always wonder whether that's a sign that the player needs to try something else to win the point in his own mind.
30 love.
A little bit of desperation.
Magnus looking at his coach there, Freddie Rosengren, shaking his head. Bit of negative body language. A quick game here for Leighton would be very beneficial.
Don't come any quicker than that. An ace to finish. His best service game to date and a lead of 5-4. Bit of a grey sky and southerly winds gusting at times to 20-25 kilometres per hour. We don't get the full force of that down on the centre court inside this bowl at the Sydney International Tennis Centre, but what does happen is that the wind does get down here and swirls in many different directions. Freddie Rosengren, Magnus Norman's coach.
Yes, the crowd now beginning to play a part. Of course, great advantage for Hewitt playing in front of a home crowd.
Just getting wound up. That was a silly thing to do.
Waiting patiently, and it was the depth of that one to get the half-court ball again that was the winning element in the rally.
These next couple of points are the big points of this set.
And the speed of Leighton Hewitt there, forcing Norman to go for that little bit extra.
30.
Yes, this one you're talking about, reaching that in time to make a good reply. It had the chance of a winner because it was just about half court.
thought he wouldn't get to that.
So one of those extraordinary rallies where the net plays a part. It looks as if that's going to be a winner, but he actually doesn't hit it. Offers Leighton another chance, and he makes no mistake this time.
3 set points for Leighton Hewitt.
Wilco, there's no one that can say he's not quick.
No, that is just incredible. First set for Hewitt. What a way to finish it. Stuns Magnus Norman and takes the first set by 6 games to 4 in 51 minutes.
6 games to 4.
Well, there's a time to go for the jugular. Leighton Hewitt knows that as well as any of the top players now. Those important points, those critical big points.
Time.
And when they come along, he's like the trout after the fly. Zap, he's right there.
And he got through Norman mentally, forcing him to go for too much.
But this first set was played at such a high standard, it just seemed inevitable that one player, they'd either have to drop off slightly from that level, or it was going to take something special. And it was the latter we saw. Leighton in that previous game just rising to another level. 4 amazing points. That was enough to carry him over the line in the first set.
Sending a message to Magnus Norman.
Whoa. 15. Oh.
Third double fault. None today so far from Norman. Good tennis.
$15-30.
And Norman changing the pattern here, getting in very, very quickly to make that lovely angled volley winner. Just lacking the consistency today, largely as a result of the terrier-like qualities of this chap. Very soon. 2 double faults in the opening game of the match and survived. It's only the second time he's faced break point.
Deuce.
Good serve, did it? Plenty of time to pick his spot.
Advantage Hewitt. Game, Hewitt.
So, surviving a break chance, Hewitt leads a set now and 1-love in the final.
First game, second.
I should have thought the frustration level now is rising.
He's sick of the sight of Australians, Magnus Norman, won't he? I mean, I know this match is not over, but he lost in the first round last week in India in Madras to Taylor Dent, son of Phil Dent. And here he is in the final against Leighton Hewitt, and at this minute trailing by a set to love.
Love.
Hewitt again, too quick and too smart.
Well, at the best of times, the stop volley on this surface is a risky business. And against a man with Hewitt's pace, I would have thought almost certain suicide.
Well, I think he's got Norman moving wide. He's hitting a lot of first balls out wide to make Norman go to his forehand, and that opens up an area there where he can attack then on the backhand side of Norman, particularly if Norman drops that next shot short. So good tactic, I think, getting moving from one side right across to the other. Their body language is vastly different at the moment, isn't it, JB?
Certainly is. Really looking confident now, Leighton, and a certain dejected look about the Swede. Small wonder.
Chance for Hewitt, 30-40.
Well, he's got a big job to do now on himself first, Norman. He's making too many errors.
And Leighton can smell it, JB. So he's looking, the look on his face was one as if to say, gotcha. Almost, almost. Still a long way to go, Gary. He hasn't got him yet. He's too good a player at 2-love in the second to expect that. But certainly he's won a mental battle over the last 15 to 20 minutes, Leighton.
Norman's problem is quite a simple one. Where does he go from here? Most of his best shots are being reached in time by Hewitt to make a return. Yes, he's making the occasional winner, but he's also making too many errors, going for too much. Forced to.
30, 50.
And not only that, JB, but he showed signs of wanting to venture to the net in the last few games also. He hasn't won many of those ventures either. Leighton's been too quick. He's got up to a few drop volleys. He's looking for something different, Norman, searching.
Out. 30 all.
No call from the linesman, but Norm Christ made the call.
Well, it hit
good.
the line. Hit the line.
It's
That
good.
was-
And Hewitt saying to Norm Christ, well, why would you make the call from where you are?
It certainly wasn't a clear error, was it? Wasn't an error at all. I mean, it was on the line clearly.
There's the golden. That got under Norman's skin, that did. Clear rule for umpires is it's got to be a clear and obvious error before you overrule.
Deuce.
Well, what a pity.
Advantage, Hewitt.
You know, there are people who object to the way he pumps himself up and says, come on, and all that. It doesn't worry me at all. In fact, I think it's rather endearing that he should be so involved and aggressive.
Well, great play from both, and Hewitt applauds Norman as if to say, well, look, I threw my best at you and you beat me.
Deuce.
Well, the pace here is quite astonishing. Nobody thought he could possibly reach that, but Norman at least kept his head here and coolly put it back behind him. Well played, Norman. Applauded too by his opponent.
I think that's one of the things that the critics of Hewitt overlook. He may be pugnacious, he may be aggressive, but he's also extraordinarily fair.
And no one can deny that he gives money's worth, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. That's what the fans are here for. leads now by a set and 3 love in the 2001 Adidas International Final. Well, it was a testing time to 4-all in the first set. Nothing, not a split inch between the two players at an incredibly high standard of play. But try as he might, Magnus Norman just could not crack the Hewitt defence, and it was he who faltered first. And Hewitt taking the first set 6-4, now up 3 love in the second set. Big job for Norman.
Love, 15.
Trouble with Magnus Norman's game is there's no plan B. Plan A is very good when he's playing well against an opponent who can't reach a lot of his fastest shots, but unfortunately for him, Hewitt can. Oh dear, well. Well, that tells you rather a lot. He wasn't really prepared for another go. He'd given it up in his mind, I think.
Oh, Norman is on the skids here at 15-40.
Certainly starting to spray a few more balls, isn't he?
Lost 3 in this game that he would have, should have, could have made.
He won't get that.
There are limits, you know.
30-40.
Well, very few players would have reached this one. Just as well that Norman was awake. He nearly was caught.
Still break point. And Hewitt hits the Swede with a double rummy in the second set and leads 4-love. Well, he's getting them wild and woolly at the moment, Magnus Norman. And Hewitt is just relentless, John Fitzgerald.
What a man to have in your corner. He is. What a performance this has been. He weathered the storm. The standard of the first set was incredible. He went to another level to win the first set, and now he's just racing towards the finish line.
Sort of man to make a Davis Cup captain look good.
30-50.
Well, this game has fallen apart, really.
Not often you see a player of this class lose 6 games in a row either. From 4-all, it's been all Hewitt.
Yes, the unforced errors have been very serious. And almost as if he suddenly decided, well, come on, let's just give it a go.
We had the sting in the tail.
So that question of getting a few cheap points from good first serving, exactly what happened here.
Crowd rise for Hewitt, leading us at 5 love.
5 games to love.
The new Bic Soft Twin, dual lubricating strips, pivoting head, soft feel grip. It's all you need for a great shave.
Thanks.
Hey, what do you blokes want? Thunderbird!
Oh, ripper, mate. Thanks.
Bundaberg Ginger Beer, the only ginger beer that's naturally brewed to refresh your thirst.
Well, Magnus Norman, world's number 4 ranked player, came out in fine form at the outset against Leighton Hewitt and really tried to muscle the Australian off the court through the first 8 games, and it just didn't work. Hewitt was equal to the task, and once he cracked the Swedes' defence, it's been all downhill for Norman. Love 5, second set.
Love 50.
You know, this spells to me that not only can Leighton win on these surfaces, and he's a realistic chance of winning the Australian Open, but this is a player he's playing today who was in the final of Roland Garros last year. There's no reason why Leighton Hewitt can't win the French Open as well. He's good enough to win on all surfaces, I believe.
Beat Sampras on grass last year in the final of Queens. Yes, don't count him out quite yet, but I don't think it's going to be too long. First serve percentage has been slipping from the 60s down to 52. Perfect. Well, now, of course, his confidence is so high. He feels he can do anything with the ball.
Every statistic on the board favours Leighton Hewitt. From the scoreline down to unforced errors, forced errors, everything. Service percentages, forehand winners, backhand winners, net winners, everything.
Game one.
He's human.
In the second set, a roar of encouragement from the crowd for Magnus Norman, but it's virtually impossible to see any other result here than a Hewitt victory, with the advantage of 2 breaks of serve, 5-1 ahead, 1 set to love. And I told a lie, one statistic does go against Hewitt. He's got 5 double faults. I guess he'll accept those.
Serving for the title with the new balls. And the wonderful thing is that having created the momentum, and he did that by sheer hard work in the first set, he's kept it going marvellously well. He's never wavered.
Well, when it comes to focus, there are few better than Leighton Hewitt.
50.
Unloading on that favourite forehand of his, making a rare winner. Rare, certainly in the last 8 games.
Remarkably, you know, we've got the 1 and 2 seeds playing each other here in the men's singles final. To follow, we'll have the 1 and 2 seeds in the women's singles final, and to follow that, the 1 and 2 seeds in the men's doubles final. And last night we had the 1 and 2 seeds in the women's doubles final.
That can't have happened very often.
Well, people have been scratching their heads to work out when it happened last in a major event. Last stand for Magnus Norman.
Well, if Hewitt can clinch this game, he'll be the first man since Sampras in 1994 to retain the title here. While it was the Adidas International years ago, of course, the New South Wales Championships has been won several times, 2 years in a row, by some very distinguished gentlemen. If I mentioned Jack Crawford and John Bromwich, Ashley Cooper, Neil Fraser. That'll give him just a little bit of hope, and that's all that's left now.
30.
A slender thread of hope. A break point against the Hewitt serve for only the 3rd time in the match.
Deuce.
Gambling all on another clean winner and failing. And the other two break points. He served an ace on the first, hit a forehand winner on the second.
Hewitt, seventh ace.
Advantage Hewitt.
And match point. Championship point. The Adidas International Champion for the second year running, joining an illustrious group of multiple winners mentioned by John Barrett a few moments ago. And what a way to do it. Peerless tennis from Leighton Hewitt. Just a great effort, defeating Magnus Norman of Sweden in straight sets, humbling the world's number 4, 6-4, 6-1.
Well, it was just a glorious performance.
Leighton Hewitt, at 19 years of age, raised his fists in triumph after winning the Adidas International for the second year running, and the fists go up too from coach Darren Cale, manager John McCurdy, sitting with Darren's wife, and well, might they applaud John Barrett. It was a terrific effort, 6-4, 6-1.
Certainly was. Similar service percentage. Magnus Norman had been ahead in first serves in, but it fell away, and Hewitt's returning largely responsible for that. And the 5 double faults that Hewitt served really of no consequence. He hit more forehand winners, he hit more backhand winners, he won more points at the net. Didn't venture there too often, but it was the 33 unforced errors coming at the wrong times that allowed Hewitt really to make that break in the first set. And once he got his hands round his neck, he never let go.
Leighton Hewitt, the champion again here in Sydney, as we go courtside to Craig Willis.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful week of tennis, culminating in today's men's singles final on centre court at the Adidas International for 2001. Let us congratulate these two fine young men for their wonderful skills displayed here on centre court today. To begin our official presentation, would you please join with me in welcoming the President of Tennis Australia, Mr. Jeff Pollard.
Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so I want to add my congratulations too to Leighton Hewitt on retaining his title here at the Adidas International, the first player to do so since Pete Sampras in 93-94. So Leighton, you're in pretty good company. Congratulations. And Magnus, congratulations on reaching the final. All the Swedish players are pretty popular here in Australia, so I'm sure next week in Melbourne the greatest support will be for the Australians and the Swedes, but congratulations to you both today. We're pretty proud of the fact that in the Adidas International this year, I think for the first time since Open Tennis came in 1968, the two finalists in the 4 events have been the number 1 and 2 seeds. That's never been done in Open Tennis, so it's congratulations to all finalists in all 4 events. We're also proud to be one of only 9 events in the world, the 4 Grand Slams and 5 others around the world, where both men and women's tennis are played simultaneously. So I want to first say thank you to you, the public of Sydney in particular, the public that have really supported us this week, the day and night sessions, and again today for the final with a full house. So thank you for your support for the whole week. I want to thank our sponsors, Adidas, that have now been with us for 4 years and have been a major contributor to the growth that this event has seen over those past 4 years. And with them also the co-sponsors, and you can see that with the growth of the event we have an increasing number of very good co-sponsors. So to all of them I'd like to say thank you very much. I want to thank Channel 7, the media, particularly thank the nearly 400 volunteers that have helped make this tournament a success. And you were too quick. I was going to say Sydney has the best volunteers in the world. We found that during the Olympics and we saw it again here. And finally I want to thank everyone at IMG, at Tennis Australia and Tennis New South Wales, and particularly our 2 new joint tournament directors, Craig Watson and Mike Dawes, who had to step into the shoes when Barry Masters passed away just a couple of months ago. You've done a fantastic job, fellas, and we look forward to seeing you all next year.
Mr. Pollard, thank you. I'm joined on the podium by the President of Tennis New South Wales, Mr. John Whittaker, and representing Adidas, Olympic gold medalist Ian Thorpe, here today. And they have the very pleasurable task of presenting the magnificent Waterford Crystal trophies and the cheques, firstly to our finalist, a very popular player, as Mr. Pollard alluded to here in Australia, from Sweden, Magnus Norman.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, of course, I would like to congratulate Leighton. You know, it's his day today. He's a very tough opponent, and you know, it's a great event for him. And good luck next week in Melbourne. Second of all, you know, it's a great event for all the players. You know, the organization is superb here. You know, I want to thank all the sponsors, all the ball boys and ball girls who's running around here every day, and hopefully I can come back next year. I want to thank all the fans as well who came out today, and you know, thank you very much. Thank you.
Magnus, thank you. We wish you luck in Melbourne at the Australian Open Championships for 2001. And now to a young man who stood on this podium last year as the winner of the Adidas International. He's back again this year from South Australia, Lleyton Hewitt.
Well, first I'd like to thank Ian for coming out. You know, it's fantastic to have someone out here who's you know, done so much things for sport in Australia, and congratulations, Ian, on everything that you've done for Australia. I'd like to thank all the sponsors, everyone who made this tournament possible. A lot of things go into making a tennis tournament, and this is one of the best in the world. And you know, I love coming back here and playing. And you know, I haven't lost a match on this court in this tournament. So you know, it's a fantastic arena, and I love, you know, coming back here and playing well. I'd like to thank all the ball kids, the umpires. I think you know who you are. I'd like to thank Darren Cahill, my coach, who's been with me since I started on the tour, and you know, he's done a wonderful job for me, and he's you know, right behind me the whole time. And last of all, I'd like to thank the crowd. It was only about a month ago that I was in Barcelona. I walk out in the court and I had 14,000 people booing me and screaming and throwing things at you, and it wasn't a great feeling. And to come out here and get the reception that I've got all week, and especially today in the final, I tell you, it really does lift the Australians. So hopefully any of you people coming out next week to the Australian Open, get out there and support the Aussies, and also in all the Davis Cup matches. Thank you.
Leighton, thank you. Congratulations on winning your second Adidas International here in the year 2001 at the Sydney International Tennis Centre. Guys, I'm going to invite you to come down here in the front of the podium for the photographs, as we do at these presentations. Congratulations once again to our finalist, Magnus Norman, and our champion, Leighton Hewitt. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while the photos are being taken, the tournament's official charity is the Humpty Dumpty Foundation, of course, who support the Royal North Shore Hospital Children's Wing, Paediatrics Wing. I have with us today on centre court Joanne Fisher, the Executive Director of the Royal North Shore Hospital. And at the official charity dinner, I'm sure you heard a lot about it here in Sydney, with Nuke and Roche there, Joanna Griggs was hosting it. They raised $150,000 in support of new equipment for the children's ward. And I'm going to call upon John Whittaker, the President of Tennis New South Wales, to make a presentation.
There we are, Joe. Congratulations. Wonderful effort, and we wish you all the best for the new year.
Thank you on behalf of the children of Sydney.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to clear the court, and very shortly, the ladies' singles final, Martina Hingis and Lindsay Davenport.
A brilliant result there for Leighton Hewitt, the men's singles champion for the 2001 Adidas International. We'll have more in just a moment.
He's 20 years old and there ain't no doubt Leighton Hewitt's gonna let his shirt hang out. He moves like lightning, he's built like a jockey. Before every game he listens to Rocky. Adrian! He points someone out when he gets pumped up. He ripped the shirt open at the Davis Cup. It doesn't really matter if you don't know how to do it. Come on, everybody, do the Leighton Hewitt. Come on, do the Leighton Hewitt. Come on, do the Leighton Hewitt. Picky, picky, pick. Picky, picky, pick. Picky, 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 pick. Shirt. 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 Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Down to the Aussie Open.